The message came on a Tuesday morning. It didn't arrive through any normal channel. Instead, every screen across Earth, televisions, smartphones, tablets, even old billboards, lit up with the same feed. The signal had overridden everything, everywhere. Ambassador Jackson Reed was in the middle of breakfast when his television flickered. A moment later, his phone vibrated and displayed the same image. Across the room, his laptop booted up without prompt, revealing the identical broadcast. On screen was a figure clearly not human. Tall, thin, with violet skin and black eyes too large for its face. Small ridges traced across its forehead where eyebrows might have been. "People of Earth," the being said in flawless English. "I am High Minister Zarek of the Arctari Dominion, representing the Galactic Council. After decades of silent observation, we have come to a decision regarding your world's standing in the galactic community." Jackson froze, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. 3 years earlier, humanity discovered it wasn't alone. A council of advanced species, calling itself the Galactic Council, had made contact, not with fleets and fanfare, but subtle diplomacy. They observed, asked questions, and shared almost nothing in return. It was clear from the start, humanity was under evaluation. Now the verdict had arrived. Jackson's phone rang, the president's name flashing on screen. He answered with a single sentence. "I saw it. I'm heading in." Across the Capitol, Secretary Talia Monroe stood in her office, surrounded by staff, as they all stared in stunned silence at the alien speaker. "The Council hereby classifies Earth as a Class 3 developing civilization," Zarek declared, his tone as sterile as a court ruling. "Primitive, unpredictable, dangerous. Your kind is unfit for Council membership. Full privileges are denied." Talia's jaw clenched. Zarek continued, "As per Council statute, Earth may establish restricted trade agreements under supervision. Expansion beyond your solar territory is forbidden. Technology access is revoked. Surveillance will be ongoing." Silence filled the room. Aides turned to Talia, but she said nothing. Her stomach twisted, not in fear, but fury. When Jackson Reed arrived at the emergency summit, the faces around the table were pale, eyes tight with frustration. The president, the defense leaders, key diplomats, they all knew what this meant. "They've caged us," the defense chief muttered. "Told us to play with blocks while the grown-ups talk. What options do we have?" the president asked. "Few," Jackson admitted. "We don't know their military capabilities, their tech's centuries ahead. Any resistance would be suicide." An aide stormed into the room. "Sir, Council vessel has entered our atmosphere. They request a landing at Capitol Port. They're sending a permanent liaison." An hour later, a sleek silver craft, silent and clean, descended like a whisper onto the tarmac. No smoke, no sound, no show of force, just raw elegance. Jackson and Talia waited alongside a small diplomatic team. From the ship emerged a tall, lean alien with pale blue skin. He wore a simple uniform, no insignia, no weapons. "I am Krellin," he said, voice calm, almost bored. "I've been assigned as Earth's representative contact for the Council." Talia frowned. Given the announcement, we expected a full delegation. Krellin blinked slowly. "Earth has been deemed unworthy of senior engagement. I am considered expendable." The message was clear. The Council didn't just look down on humanity, they considered them irrelevant. While officials grappled with the insult elsewhere, someone else watched the broadcast in stunned silence. Frank Holloway sat in a dusty workshop behind his modest home. At 62, the retired Navy engineer had spent the last few years tinkering with devices most people thought were scrap metal. But Frank had a secret, one he'd kept since 1989. He stared at the screen. They called Earth inferior. He shook his head, then picked up his phone and dialed a number only a few people still had. "This is Holloway," he said. "Tell General Marcus Barnes I have something he needs to see." It's about the council. 3 days later, Frank stood inside a high-security facility miles beneath the surface. The room was stark, cold, and filled with suspicious eyes. At the center sat General Barnes, head of the Human Defense Division. "You claim to have alien tech?" the general asked. Frank opened his old leather briefcase and set a twisted piece of metal on the table. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its surface. In '89, I was on a recovery team. We were told it was a classified crash, experimental aircraft, but it wasn't ours. It wasn't anyone's. The room went still. "You're saying it was extraterrestrial?" a woman asked. Frank nodded. "Yes, Doctor. Emily Hart. I took a few pieces before they locked the rest away. I've been studying them ever since. Figured out more than you'd think." Barnes leaned forward. "Why come forward now?" "Because now we need it," Frank said. "They think we're primitives. They're wrong. This proves it." The following day, Dr. Hart was pulled from her work at a private research institute and brought to the base. At 35, she had a reputation for pushing the limits of theoretical physics. "Dr. Hart," Barnes said, "this is Frank Holloway. He believes your work on spatial theory can help us unlock something big." Frank gestured to the table, where one of the alien devices pulsed softly. "I think this is a propulsion system," Frank said, "but it might be more than that. I need your help with the theory." Emily stepped closer, eyes scanning the object. This shouldn't exist," she whispered. "Not by our understanding of physics." But Frank grinned. "But it does." "If we're right," she said slowly. "This isn't just propulsion. This could be shielding too, space folding and energy redirection. Together." Barnes stepped in. "Can you build it?" Emily glanced at Frank. "If we can stabilize it, not only can we build it, we can make it better." "Timeline?" Barnes asked. Frank and Emily shared a look. 6 months, they said together, though neither truly believed it. "You have 3, Barnes said. As the project ramped up, now designated Project Firebird, the council liaison, Krellin, settled into a modest embassy. Small quarters, no staff. It was symbolic of how little the council cared. Ambassador Jackson visited often, asking questions. But today he had something different in mind. "What would it take for Earth to be reclassified?" Jackson asked. Krellin gave what might have been a chuckle. "Impossible. You'd need to master things even advanced species struggle with, like faster-than-light travel, gravitational manipulation, shielding technologies we barely understand." Jackson nodded. "We're fast learners. Back at the lab, Emily and Frank worked around the clock. Equations filled whiteboards. Models were built and scrapped. Test rigs exploded, then improved. And slowly, something took shape. At last, Emily stepped back from a humming unit the size of a small car. It glowed faintly blue. "Power levels stable," one of the engineers reported. "Field integrity at 97%. Frank grinned. "We did it. General Barnes and a new visitor, Senator Rachel Decker, entered the lab." "Is that what I think it is?" Decker asked. "The first functional shield generator based on alien tech," Emily said. "And improved." She pointed at key components. "We don't just match the council's systems. We've surpassed them." Barnes raised an eyebrow. "Show us." Frank lifted a pistol, aimed at the generator, and fired. The bullet halted mid-air, suspended in shimmering light. Senator Decker blinked. "Remarkable." Emily smiled. "And just the beginning. We've started work on propulsion." "How long until you can integrate this into a ship?" Decker asked. "We've already started," Barnes said. "Hull construction began last month. We just needed this tech." Frank nodded. "The council's blind. They think we're centuries away." They gave us one observer, minimal surveillance. Decker smiled. Let's keep it that way. Far beneath the surface of a remote mountain range, Project Firebird expanded into a newly constructed underground facility known as Sentinel Base. More than 300 scientists, engineers, and military personnel now worked around the clock in total secrecy. At the heart of the complex stood a spacecraft unlike anything ever built on Earth. The EDS Defiant, Earth defense ship, was sleek, compact, and entirely alien in appearance. Powered by reverse-engineered tech, it was outfitted with the world's first energy shield and a propulsion drive built from both Earth's best minds and off-world inspiration. Captain Alan Russell, 38, had been selected to command the ship. Former test pilot, strategist, and known for unconventional brilliance, he was the perfect mix of boldness and restraint. System checks complete, reported First Officer Samantha Wells, a quiet but sharp tactician. Activate launch sequence, Russell ordered. The underground bay filled with low vibrations as massive doors above slowly opened, revealing black waters. The Defiant rose from its cradle, engines nearly silent. Moments later, it breached the lake's surface and vanished into the night sky, undetected by satellite, radar, or any Council sensor. High above the planet, the ship activated its FTL prototype drive, streaking toward Mars. On the red planet, Earth had recently established a small scientific colony. Limited in scope and resources, it was a quiet outpost. No one expected trouble, until trouble arrived. Emergency signal from Mars, a technician at Sentinel Base reported. 3 unidentified vessels in orbit. They're firing on the colony, Russell immediately responded. Maximum speed. Prepare weapons. The Defiant sliced through space faster than any human-built object ever had. At Mars, Dr. Paul Jenkins, head of the colony, crouched inside an emergency shelter with 30 others. Explosions shook the ground above. Habitat domes were being torn apart. Who are they? A technician whispered. Jenkins shook his head. Not Council ships. And if they were, we'd already be dead. This is different. Above them, 3 black-hulled ships loomed, bristling with weaponry and scarred from 1,000 raids. These weren't diplomats. These were Void Syndicate pirates, an outlaw group operating beyond Council law. They'd caught word of Earth's colony, believing it undefended, weak, ripe for conquest. Their commander, a reptilian brute named Grax, laughed as another structure exploded. Pathetic. Council said they were primitives. Looks like they were right. His sensor officer blinked. Something's coming from Earth, sir. Fast. Impossible. Human ships are months out at best. Not this one. Arrival in 4 minutes. The laughter stopped. Then the Defiant dropped into orbit like a thunderclap of blue light. Its sudden appearance froze the pirate crews in disbelief. What is that? Grax growled. No known match. Definitely not Council tech, but definitely not primitive. Inside the Defiant, Russell opened a channel. Unidentified vessels. You are attacking an Earth colony. Cease fire and withdraw. This is your only warning. Grax laughed. One ship? You're either brave or stupid. Shields up, Russell said calmly. The pirate ships fired. Energy blasts lanced toward the Defiant, then vanished on contact, absorbed by the ship's shimmering blue barrier. Impossible, Grax gasped. Return fire, Russell ordered. Disable their weapons only. Precision beams erupted from the Defiant, striking each enemy vessel. Within seconds, all 3 floated helpless, weapon systems fried. We've got them, Samantha said. They can't fight or flee. Russell opened the channel again. You have 1 minute. Leave the system or be destroyed. Grax hesitated, shame darkening his scaled face. Retreat, he growled. Get us out of here. The pirate ships limped away, stunned and silent. On the surface, Dr. Jenkins emerged with the other survivors, gazing upward. The Defiant hovered above them like a guardian angel, A moment later, Russell and his team beamed down, phasing into the shelter. Another forbidden tech. "You saved us," Jenkins said. "I thought we were done for." Russell nodded. "A lot has changed, Doctor. Back at the Galactic Council's central station, Concordia Prime, automated sensors flagged the Mars incident. A junior officer pointed at his screen. Void Syndicate attack on a Class 3 colony. "Barely worth noting," said his superior. "Send a memo to the Earth liaison. Suggest they improve planetary defense over the next 100 years. The officer was about to log the event when he paused. "Wait. There's something odd. Another ship. Doesn't match any Earth designs. Too fast. Council ship? Number something else." Meanwhile, Krellin sat at his desk, preparing his monthly report. He barely mentioned the attack. Humans continue adjusting to their classification. Mild frustration, but no measurable advancement. Surveillance remains minimal. The report was stamped and sent without revision, but inside Sentinel Base, the truth was anything but stagnant. The shield prototype had passed field tests. The propulsion drive had exceeded expectations. The rescue of the Mars colony had proven more than defense. It proved superiority. The Council didn't know, and the humans intended to keep it that way. Senator Decker paced inside the command chamber, flanked by General Barnes and Ambassador Reed. "We need to go public," she said. "Too soon," Jackson replied. "Let them underestimate us a little longer." "But we need representation," Decker pressed. "A delegation, a challenge." Barnes nodded. "We've earned a seat at the table." A message was sent to Krellin requesting a formal petition for reclassification. He blinked in surprise. "That's highly irregular. Class 3 species don't issue petitions." "Council law," Reed said. "Section 47. We have the right to challenge our classification if we show advancement." Krellin paled slightly, an odd shade of lavender blooming across his cheeks. "Even so, the Council won't be swayed by minor developments." "We won't be showing minor developments," Decker said with a razor smile. Reluctantly, Krellin agreed. The humans would be allowed to travel to Concordia Prime for a formal audience. They brought 3 representatives: Ambassador Reed, Dr. Emily Hart, and Captain Alan Russell. When they arrived, they walked into the Grand Hall, a chamber of marble-like stone and floating light, filled with hundreds of species and representatives. Zorek, High Minister of the Council, sat atop the dais like a god watching ants. "You seek to challenge our classification?" Zorek asked, amused. "You are barely out of your planetary cradle." "We believe the Council has underestimated humanity," Reed said. Zorek chuckled. "All species believe they are exceptional." "Then give us a task," Captain Russell said. "One that proves we aren't what you think." Zorek narrowed his black eyes. "Very well, if you want to prove your worth, navigate the Krell vortex." The room gasped. Krellin took a step forward. "You can't be serious." Zorek ignored him. The Krell vortex is a region of space riddled with unstable gravitational anomalies, erratic energy discharges, and moving asteroid fields. No ship has passed through in 200 years. "If we do?" Russell asked. "Then Earth's classification will be reconsidered." "Accepted," Russell replied without hesitation. Later, Krellin confronted them outside. "You don't understand. The vortex isn't just dangerous. It breaks the laws of physics. Ships vanish inside. You can't win." Dr. Hart raised an eyebrow. "You said it breaks your laws of physics." Krellin was silent. 2 days later, the Defiant arrived at the edge of the Krell vortex. In the Council Observatory, representatives gathered to watch what they assumed would be Earth's humiliating end. The screens displayed violent space, a hurricane of motion and chaos. "Begin entry," Russell ordered. Inside the Defiant, Dr. Hart monitored readings. "The anomalies aren't random. They follow a pattern. We can track them with modified sensor algorithms." "Let's see if you're right," Russell said. In the observatory, time passed. 1 minute. 5. 10. They're still alive, a council officer whispered. How? Zorek asked, gripping the railing. No one survives that long. Inside the Defiant, the crew maneuvered expertly, dancing between collapsing gravity wells and energy spikes. Then came something unexpected. Captain, Hart said, I'm reading another vessel. Derelict. Faint power. Stasis life signs. It's Council origin. Course correction, Russell ordered. We're bringing them home. The ship they approached was massive, far larger than the Defiant, and elegant in its design, all curved lines and soft luminescence. It didn't match any species catalogued by Earth. Emily Hart ran a scan. It's Melnarian, she said, voice tight with awe. And it's old. Life support is failing. 23 life forms in stasis. We have less than 48 hours. Russell nodded. Can we help them? Samantha Wells hesitated. Docking would be dangerous in this environment. Then we won't dock, Russell said. Emily, can we extend our shield to cover their vessel? Yes, she said, eyes locked on her readings. But it'll stress our systems hard. Do it, Russell ordered. Once we have them under protection, initiate transport. The crew moved quickly. The Defiant crept closer to the derelict, carefully adjusting its trajectory to compensate for gravitational surges. Blue energy rippled across its surface as the shield expanded, forming a protective bubble that engulfed the Melnarian vessel. Shield connection established, Samantha said, beginning transport. In the Council observatory, silence fell. They're trying to rescue the crew, someone whispered. That's insane, another murmured. Shield extension under these conditions would rupture even a Tier 1 vessel. They're doing it, a third voice replied. Look at the field integrity. Zorek stared at the screen, expression unreadable. It cannot be. One by one, the Melnarian survivors materialized inside the Defiant's cargo bay, which had been repurposed as a medical station. They were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shimmered like liquid crystal. Though unconscious, faint signs of life were present. They're alive, said the Defiant's medical officer. Their stasis tech is unlike anything we've seen, but they're stable. We can revive them. Do it, Russell replied, before returning to the bridge. How long can we maintain the shield? He asked. Not long, Emily said. 2, maybe 3 minutes before the generator overloads. Then let's move, Russell said. Samantha, release the Melnarian vessel. Plot our path back out. The ship disengaged gently, allowing the derelict to drift in its protected slumber. With precision thruster bursts, the Defiant turned, diving deeper into the vortex momentarily before reversing course toward its exit vector. Power everything to engines and shields, Russell ordered. Cut life support to non-essential sections. Dim internal lighting. Energy reserves rerouted. The lights dimmed, the hum of the engines deepened, and the ship pushed through chaos once again. Asteroids twisted. Gravity warped. But the crew remained steady. We're almost out, Samantha said, voice taut. The bridge lights flickered as another gravitational pulse struck them, but the Defiant held. Then suddenly they were free. They emerged into normal space, battered but whole. The vortex faded behind them, distant and defeated. In the medical bay, one of the Melnarians opened their eyes. The being's multifaceted gaze flicked to the doctor. You are safe, the doctor said. We rescued your ship. What species are you? We are humans, from Earth. The Melnarian's skin rippled to a deep blue. But you are classified as Class 3. The doctor smiled. That may be changing. News spread fast. The council halls buzzed with debate. Representatives shouted, speculated, accused. Some demanded immediate reevaluation. Others called it a fluke. This proves nothing, Zorek said, standing before the high chamber. One lucky stunt. That does not make a civilization advanced. Professor Vela, the lead Melnarian scientist among the rescued, stepped forward. Her skin glowed with the soft gold of gratitude and respect. "Your people left us to die," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "You ignored our distress signals. You called it too dangerous. And yet these humans saved us." Zorek turned to her. "The vortex is a death trap. Any attempt would have cost more lives. And yet no lives were lost," Vela said. "Not theirs, not ours." 3 days later, the Defiant docked at Concordia Prime. Captain Russell and the delegation disembarked to find the entire station alive with murmurs and crowds. Even Krellin's normally unreadable face showed visible tension. "You've caused a stir," he said. "Good," Russell replied. Professor Vela met them at the docking ring. "We owe you everything. The Melnarian Confederation will formally support Earth's petition for reclassification." Krellin blinked. "The Melnarians rarely intervene in classification cases." "These humans are not what we were told," she replied. As they walked toward the council chamber, the station shook. Alarms blared. Red lights pulsed across corridors. A voice echoed over the emergency systems. "Perimeter breach. All representatives to emergency shelters. Defense forces to battle stations." They rushed to a nearby viewport. Black ships descended toward the station, angled and silent, almost insectile in shape. Their hulls shimmered with tech no one recognized. "The Voidborn," Professor Vela whispered. "They have returned." Russell looked at her. "Who?" "Ancient enemies of the Council," Krellin said. "Cybernetic beings. Thousands of years ago, they nearly wiped out half the Council worlds. Then they vanished." "They didn't vanish," Vela corrected. "They went dormant, waiting, watching." The station rocked again. Explosions lit up the outer rings. "They're targeting our shield generators," someone shouted. "If they go down, we're exposed." Russell tapped his comm. Russell to Defiant. "Status?" Samantha's voice came through, steady. "Monitoring the attack. Council ships are engaging, but their patterns are being adapted to. The Voidborn are learning fast." "Prepare for combat," Russell said. "Alert the rest of the fleet." "Rest of the fleet?" Krellin asked, confused. Russell smiled faintly. "You didn't think we built only one ship, did you?" Outside, 3 more human vessels uncloaked, sleek, fast, deadly. They formed a perimeter around the station, energy shields flaring blue. "Captain Russell to all Earth vessels. The Voidborn adapt quickly. Use randomized firing sequences. Avoid pattern locking. Shields to max." The Council Observatory became a war room. Representatives watched as human ships darted through space, striking with chaotic, unpredictable force. "They're doing better than our own fleet," a council officer said. "They're not predictable," Vela said. "That which you called their weakness is their strength." The Defiant weaved between enemy vessels, landing precise hits, withdrawing before return fire could lock on. The other Earth ships mimicked its movements, sharing data instantly. Hours passed. Explosions rocked the field. Some human ships took damage, but all stayed operational. Slowly, the Voidborn began retreating. "Final vessel retreating," Samantha reported. "Battle zone secure." Cheers erupted in the chamber. Council members turned to Russell and his team, offering nods, applause, even bowed heads from species that had never bowed to outsiders. The next day, the council convened a full session. Every seat was filled. Every eye watched Zorek as he stepped onto the central platform. "In light of recent events," he said, voice echoing through the chamber, "the council has voted, unanimously, to reclassify Earth as a Class 1 civilization, with all rights and privileges therein." The chamber erupted in applause. Zorek's gaze met Russell's. "I am instructed to personally deliver this designation to your world and to express our regret for the previous assessment." Later, as they prepared to return home, Ambassador Reed smiled at Captain Russell. Not bad for an inferior species. Russell laughed. I almost feel sorry for them. For who? Reed asked. For anyone who underestimates humanity again. The Earth delegation returned home to a hero's welcome, though few knew the full extent of what had happened. To the public, Earth had gained Council recognition, but the truth ran deeper. Earth had gone from ignored to indispensable. Inside Sentinel Base, things moved quickly. With the Void-born threat exposed, Earth's secret fleet expanded. Reverse engineering now accelerated. New propulsion methods, adaptive weapons, quantum shielding. Systems once theoretical were now operational. Emily Hart stood before a 3-story schematic, her fingers smeared with grease and graphite. If we keep pace, she told Senator Decker, we'll outstrip Council tech in 5 years. Make it 3, Decker said. Because if those cyber monsters come back, we need to lead the charge, not follow it. Captain Russell had been reassigned, no longer commander of just one ship, but the architect of Earth's new Star Defense Wing. 20 vessels were under construction across hidden shipyards, all with stealth capabilities, all Council blind. In meetings, Council observers asked questions, took notes, but the answers they received were always modest. Technical details buried beneath bureaucratic phrasing. Earth wasn't hiding what they had. Earth was simply choosing not to explain it. Weeks passed. Then the Melnarian Confederation called for a strategic summit. The location, Concordia Prime. Attendees, all Class 1 civilizations, and Earth. Captain Russell, Ambassador Reed, and Dr. Hart returned as Earth's representatives. They noticed the difference immediately. This time, no one looked down on them. Some even stepped aside as they passed. The summit focused on the Void-born. They are not just a threat, said the Melnarian Prime Delegate. They are evolving. Every time they engage, they learn faster. We believe they were watching even before the Krell vortex, Vela added. Earth may have been the first world to catch their attention, but now, the entire Council is in their sights. Zorek stood, his voice heavy. The Dominion recommends the formation of a new coalition, composed of adaptive, responsive forces, not bound by Council protocol. And who would lead such a force? Asked a delegate from the Andari Reach. Everyone turned to look at Russell. The humans, Zorek said, pausing only slightly. Murmurs rippled across the chamber. Russell met the gaze of every representative. We're ready. Later that evening, Russell walked with Krellin beneath Concordia's glass domes. Stars glimmered above. You've changed, Krellin said. We had to, Russell replied. But you hide it. You're building more than just ships, aren't you? Russell smiled faintly. We're preparing. Because you're still playing politics, and we know what's coming. Krellin looked away. Some in the Council still don't believe the Void-born will return in force. They will, Russell said. And when they do, they won't follow your rules. They won't care about classifications or protocols. They'll just come. And if you're not ready, you'll fall. Krellin nodded slowly. Then I hope you're as ready as you believe you are. The months that followed were filled with change. Earth's tech sector exploded. Fusion energy scaled up. Terraforming projects began on nearby moons. A new station, Vigil Prime, was built at the edge of the solar system. A watchtower, bristling with silent weapons and listening ears. On the Defiant, now refitted and serving as a flagship, Emily ran diagnostics on a new FTL matrix. This will let us skip across subspace like stones on water, she told Russell. Less time between reactions, and less predictability. Even the Void-born won't be able to trace us easily. Russell gave a small nod. Then let's make it real. And it was. Soon after, a council-wide alert triggered. A minor colony in the Tarsan Expanse, classed as independent, went silent. Recon drones showed wreckage. No survivors, no energy signatures, except one. Void-born technology. Adaptive. Faster. Smarter. The council froze. Some wanted to deliberate, others to dispatch a committee, but Earth had already launched. 3 Defiant-class vessels, including the original, entered the Expanse within 12 hours. They found remnants of battle, heat still rising from cracked stone. The soil was scorched, structures melted. But among the ruins, they found something else. A living survivor. An alien child curled in a stasis field powered by a void-born generator. Emily studied it. This field, it's not designed to preserve. It's designed to observe. A trap, Russell said. The field shimmered and exploded into signal. Across half the quadrant, void-born receivers lit up. In minutes, they were on the move. 5 ships, then 10, then 30. Incoming, Samantha reported. Multiple vectors. They're everywhere. Russell activated the fleet channel. Engage formations Beta and Gamma. Initiate wildfire protocol. All weapons. Randomized sequence. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. Earth's forces didn't just hold the line, they pushed back. For every adaptive surge, they had a counter. Every void-born trick was met with a human improvisation. Russell's command style became legend. He never gave the same order twice. He switched weapons mid-salvo. He rotated shields like a dance. Eventually, the void-born retreated, bleeding data and fragments. And for the first time, they left one of their own behind. A damaged unit, smoking and sparking. Emily and her team secured it, scanned it. This is a command node, she said. If we can decrypt it, we'll understand how they think. And if we understand that, Russell said, we end them. They return to Concordia. Zorek stood before the council, flanked by leaders from across the stars. Earth has not only defended its allies, he said, but has done so with courage, strategy, and unity. They have earned not only reclassification, but leadership. Captain Alan Russell was named Supreme Strategist of the Coalition Force. Emily Hart was offered the position of Chief Technologist for the Advanced Defense Initiative. Ambassador Reed was appointed to the Council's Executive Committee, but Earth declined one thing, a seat of governance. We don't want to rule, Russell said. We want to protect. Keep your chambers and politics. Just point us where we're needed. And they did. As Earth's fleet expanded beyond 50 ships, new allies volunteered to learn their ways. Human strategy became a subject of study. Their unpredictability was no longer seen as a weakness, but as an evolutionary strength. Children on distant worlds dressed up as defiant captains. Old empires asked for training. And the Voidborn? They went quiet. Not because they were gone, but because they were watching again. Emily knew it. She felt it every time the stars pulsed wrong. They'll come back stronger, she told Russell one night aboard Vigil Prime. They're learning too. Then we keep learning faster, Russell said. And if we can't? Russell looked through the viewing window at the growing fleet. Then we teach them what it means to corner a species that refuses to die quietly. She smiled. Human nature? He shook his head. Human instinct. The message was clear, etched across every hull, every shield, every starship that bore Earth's flag. Humanity was no longer on the edge of the galactic map. They were the blade at its center, and they would never be underestimated again.